This is Chicago's very own WGN Midday News.
University of Rhode Island student recently sued a textile company for denying her an internship. The suit claims discrimination based on the student's status as a medical marijuana card holder. This is a story that could repeat anywhere. Medical marijuana, when it becomes legal, like here in Illinois, when that happens. So in today's Midday Fix, we're talking to Rob Wilson, president of Employco USA. He's going to help us understand the rules employers and employees will have to follow next year. Rob, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
This is some really legally murky territory, some uncharted waters, because it's nearly half of all states now have medical marijuana legal or soon to be legal, and yet this product is illegal at the federal level.
Right, exactly. So for HR departments, it creates a big issue with your employees of, is it legal or illegal? Yeah,
back to the student in Rhode Island. Can employers discriminate against workers who use medical marijuana?
You can't, depending on the discrimination, they can't discriminate you because you're a medical marijuana card holder. But if you are, if you're using the drug at the workplace, if you do test positive, they can reprimand you.
And what constitutes discrimination?
Well, the discrimination part falls under if you're discriminating just simply because they're a card holder. Because then it's not discrimination if they are testing positive.
So I guess it also raises questions about the hiring process. Can employers ask an applicant whether or not they use medical marijuana?
You can, because a lot of companies now are pre-drug testing or drug testing at the date of hire, so you can look at drug use at the time of employment.
Right. Now, does this also raise questions about drug testing with employees on the job?
Most companies do have random drug testing. Some make employees sign that it's a drug-free workplace. Others, most common is a post-accident drug test.
So what if you've got a person who uses, a card, a prescription for medical marijuana, and they have to take a on-the-job drug test? Could they cite the Americans with Disabilities Act?
Well, because the Americans with Disabilities Act is a federal, it wouldn't apply. But what they would look at is your corporate policy. So as a company, you really have to establish a policy of do you tolerate drugs, alcohol? For example, most unions have in their collective bargaining agreements certain levels that you could test positive.
So let's talk about, that's just one of the ways employers can protect themselves. Can you talk a little more about that?
Sure. One, your policy, whether it's a drug-free workplace or more importantly, you don't tolerate illegal drug use. The other part is supervisor training. Train your employees so they can be on the not on the lookout, but more aware of whether it's alcohol or medical marijuana or you're on a prescription drug.
Well, you mentioned alcohol, which is obviously alcoholic beverages legal in all over America, and that's a product that's gone from your system. But marijuana, as I understand it, is something that will stay in the system for several days, and a person could test positive for marijuana, I would think, and not be impaired. Right. Isn't that true? What kind of questions does that raise?
It does. That's where it starts to get a little bit more murky because depending on the test, if you're using a hair follicle, it does stay in your system much longer versus a more typical drug test.
So Rob, how's all this going to play out in the years to come?
It's going to be years, I think, until there's something done on the federal level. With it still being illegal on a federal level, it creates a big issue in multiple states.
Do you think the actions by the states, like we said, how many states now have legal medical marijuana?
23 plus Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's almost half. So this is it's certain to force some action at the federal level at some point, wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
It's going to be down the road. Rob Wilson, thank you so much for being with us. And again, so many questions to be answered about this. Employco USA has an office here in Chicago at 350 East, actually, at 350 East Ogden Avenue and Westmont. We'll be right back.